Hey, Nitai Kripa and Padma Malini are here. Hare Krishna. Udila Aruna Purababage Dwijamani Goda Mani Jage Udila Aruna Purababage Dwijamani Goda Amani Jage Pakata Samua Loya Sate Kilana Gura Braje Pakata Samua Loya Sate Kilana Gura Braje Tatai Bajalokol Ghana Ghana Tae Jajiraro Tae Bhajaloko Ghana Tae Jajiraro Preme Dhala Dhala Shonaranga Charane Nupura Bache Mukunda Madhava Yadava Hari Bolina Bolore Vadana Bore Nida Vashe Gelole Rati Divasha Sharira Saje Manadulaba Manava Deho Paya Kikoro Bhavana Keho Manadulaba Manava Deho Paya Kikoro Bhavana Keho Ebe Nabajile Jashoda Sutta Charame Pori Belaje Udita Tapana Hoile Asta Dina Gelo Bole Hoi Vipyasta Keno ebe Allah saho na bhajari doyaraje Jivana nitya jana sa Tahe nana vidha viparabha Nitya janasa Tahe nana vidha viparabha Namashaya kori jatane tumi Kaka panakaje Kori jatane tumi Akhane apana kaje Shri Krishna Maya Shail Tari Tumi Taka apana kaje Shri Krishna Shaya Kori Jatane Tumi Taka apana kaje Jivera Kalyana Jagate asiye madhuryana madhuryana Avidyatimira tapana rupe Ridgagane viraje Avidyatimira tapana rupe Krishna nam sudha kore apan Jura bhakati vinoda pra Krishna nam sudha kore apan Jura bhakati vinoda pra Nam bina kichu nahi koro Shoda bhuvana Kichu nahi karo, Shoda bhuvana maje. Nam bina kichu nahi karo, Shoda bhuvana maje. Nam bina kichu nahi karo. Translation. Shoda bhuvana maje. When a tinge of red on the eastern horizon heralded the sunrise, the jewel of the twice-born, Lord Gaurasundara, immediately awakened. Taking his devotees with him, he went all over the countryside, visiting the towns and villages of Nadia. The mridangas resounded, tatai, tatai. The cymbals chimed in time, and Lord Gauranga's footbills jingled as his golden form trembled slightly in ecstatic love of God. Lord Chaitanya called out to the townsfolk, "You spend your nights uselessly sleeping and your days decorating your bodies. Now just fill your mouths with the vibration of the holy names. Mukunda, Madhava, Yadava, Hari," chanting without offense. You've achieved the rare human body. You do not care for this gift? If you do not serve the darling of Jashoda now, great sorrow awaits you at death. Each time the sun rises and sets, a day passes and is lost. Then why do you remain idle and refuse to serve the Lord of the heart? Understand this essential fact. Life is temporary and full of all kinds of miseries. So make it your only business to take shelter of the holy name and always engage in his service. Desiring to bless all souls, the sweet name of Krishna has descended in the material world and now shines like the sun in the sky of the heart, destroying the darkness of ignorance. Drink the pure nectar of the holy name of Krishna and thus satisfy the soul of Bhakti Vinod. There is nothing but the holy name within all the 14 worlds. Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. Nidra Jao Maya Pisha Chira Kole. Nidra Jao Maya Pisha Chira Kole. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Bhajiba boliya eshe Samsara pitare Bhuliya rohile tumi abhijar bhare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Tomare loite am Huinu avatara Ami binna bandhu aro ke ache tomara Ami binna bandhu aro ke ache tomara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nice flute. Anichiya Shodhi Maya Nashi Barolagi. I brought the medicine to cure the disease Maya. Nashi Barolagi. Hari Nam Maha Mantra Lao Tu Mimagi. Now beg for this medicine of the holy name and take it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Bhakti Prabhu Charane Poriya. Bhaktivinoda Thakur fell at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Charane Poriya Shehani Nama Mantra Loilo Magiya. He begged for the holy name and he received it. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Ram Bhajan, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Gaur Premanande, Haribo, Haribo, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Nitai Gaura Premanande, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Shri Harinam Mahamantra ki, Shri Harinam Prabhu ki, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, to all the previous acharyas, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Krishna, and to all the assembled devotees. Kamera parya nija sambhoga kevala Krishna Sukha Tatparya Matra Prema Ta Prabhala. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses. But love caters to the enjoyment of Lord Krishna, and thus it is very powerful. Lokadharma, Veda Dharma, Deha Dharma Karma, Lajja Dharya Deha Sukha Atma Sukha Marma, Dustyajya Arya Pata Nija Parijano, Swajane Kare Jatta Tadhana Bhartsana, Sarvatyaga Kari Kare Krishnara Bhajana, Krishna Sukha Hetu Kare Prema Shevana. Social customs, scriptural injunctions, bodily demands, fruit of actions, shyness, patience, bodily pleasures, sense gratification, and the path of varnashrama dharma, which is difficult to give up. The gopis have forsaken all these, as well as their own relatives and their punishment and scolding, for the sake of serving Lord Krishna. They render loving service to him for the sake of his enjoyment. Ihaki Karya Krishna Drida Anurag Swachadauta Vastre Jaichi Nahi Kona Dag. That is called firm attachment to Lord Krishna. It is spotlessly pure, like a clean cloth that has no stain. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita advises everyone to give up all engagements of sense gratification and, like the gopis, dovetail oneself entirely with the will of the Supreme Lord. That is the ultimate instruction of Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. We should be prepared to do anything and everything to please the Lord, even at the risk of violating the Vedic principles or ethical laws. That is the standard of the love of Godhead. Such activities in pure love of Godhead are as spotless as white linen that has been completely washed. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur warns us in this connection that we should not mistakenly think that the idea of giving up everything implies the renunciation of duties necessary in relation to the body and mind. Even such duties are not sense gratification if they're undertaken in the spirit of service to Krishna. Ataiva kama premi bahuta antar, kam anda tama prema nirmal bhaskara. Therefore, lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. Ataiva gopi ganera nahi kama ganda, Krishna sukha lagi matra Krishna se sambandha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thus there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. Yatte sujata karanam burunham staneshu Pita shanai priya dadhimahi karkasheshu Tina tavim atasitad kyatahate nakim swit Kurpadi bir brahmati tir bhavad ayushmanna. O dearly beloved, your lotus feet are so soft that we place them gently on our breasts, fearing that your feet will be hurt. Our life rests only in you. Our minds, therefore, are filled with anxiety that your tender feet might be wounded by pebbles as you roam about on the forest path. Atma Sukha Duke Gopir Nahika Vichar Krishna Sukha Hetur Teshna Mano Vyavahar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis do not care for their own pleasures or pains. All their physical and mental activities are directed towards offering enjoyment to Lord Krishna. Krishna lagi aro shab kare parityaga, Krishna sukha hetu kare shuta anuraga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. They renounced everything for Krishna. They have pure attachment to giving Krishna pleasure. Evan mad arto jita lokaveda svanam hivo mayanu vrittaye bala maya paroksham bhajata tirohitam ma suyatum marhatatat priyam priya. O my beloved gopis, you have renounced social customs, scriptural injunctions, and your relatives for my sake. I disappeared behind you only to increase your concentration upon me. Since I disappeared for your benefit, you should not be displeased with me. This text from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-21 was spoken by Lord Krishna when he returned to the arena of the Rasa Leela. Krishnara prakida eka ache purva hate che jaiche bhaje Krishna tare bhaje tache. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Lord Krishna has a promise from before to reciprocate with his devotees according to the way they worship him. Jayata mam prapadyante tangs tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartman vartante manusha partha sarvasha. In whatever way my devotees surrender unto me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Pratha. Krishna was never ungrateful to the gopis, for as he declares to Arjuna in this verse from the Bhagavad Gita 4:11, he reciprocates with his devotees in proportion to the transcendental loving service they render unto him. Everyone follows the path that leads toward him, but there are different degrees of progress on that path, and the Lord is realized in proportion to one's advancement. The path is one, but the progress in approaching the ultimate goal is different, and therefore the proportion of realization of this goal, namely the absolute personality of Godhead, is also different. The gopis attained the highest goal, and Lord Chaitanya affirmed that there is no method of worshiping God higher than that followed by the gopis. Se pratikya banga hoila gopira bhajane tahate pramana Krishna shimukha vachane. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. That promise has been broken by the worship of the gopis, as Lord Krishna himself admits. Napareham niravadya samujam swasadu krityam vibhubha yushapiva yama bhajan durjaya geha shrinkala sambrishcha tad va pratiyatu sadhurna. O gopis, I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within a lifetime of Brahma. Your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me cutting off all domestic ties, which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. This verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10:32-22 was spoken by Sri Krishna himself when he returned to the gopis upon hearing their songs of separation. Tabe je dekiya gopir nija deha pit. Tabe je dekiye gopira nija dehe prita. Sehota krishnera lagi janiha nishchita. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Now, whatever affection we see the gopis show for their own bodies, know it for certain to be only for the sake of Lord Krishna. Purport: the selfless love of God exhibited by the gopis cannot have any parallel. We should not therefore misunderstand the carefulness of the gopis in their personal decoration. The gopis dressed themselves as beautifully as possible just to make Krishna happy by seeing them. They had no ulterior desires. They dedicated their bodies and everything they possessed to the service of Sri Krishna, taking it for granted that their bodies were meant for his enjoyment. They dressed themselves with the understanding that Krishna would be happy by seeing and touching them. Deha kailun ame Krishna samarpana, tar dan tar iha samboga sarana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis think, I have offered this body to Lord Krishna. He is its owner, and it brings him enjoyment. E deha darshana sparshe Krishna santoshana, e lagi kari dehera marjana bhushana. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna finds joy in seeing and touching this body. It is for this reason that they cleanse and decorate their bodies. Nijagham api yaga gopyo mameti samupasate. Tabyaparam name partha nikuda prema bhajanam. O Arjuna, there are no greater receptacles of deep love for me than the gopis, who cleanse and decorate their bodies because they consider them mine. This verse is spoken by Lord Krishna in the Adi Purana. Ada ekadhuta gopi bhavera sambhava budhira gochara nahe jahara prabhava. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There's another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. Gopi gana karye jabe Krishna darshan, sukha bancha nahi sukha hoye koti guna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Gopika darshane Krishna Raje Ananda Hoy, Taha Hoite Koti Guna Gopi Ahswadai. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis taste a pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. The wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction, yet when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness of Krishna makes the gopis 1,000,000 times more happy than Krishna himself. Tansabara nahi nija sukha rudhan, tapi bhadhai sukha pati lavudoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That is indeed a contradiction. Evirodhera eka matra deki samadhan, gopikara sukha Krishna sukhi pravashan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. The situation of the gopis is perplexing, for although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. Devotees of Vrindavan therefore try to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Lord Chaitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna, but his contemporaries misunderstood him, and for this reason Lord Chaitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. Gopi gatarshane gushnera pade pratukalata se madhurya bhade jara nahi kasamata. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Samata means equality. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. Amara Darshani Krishna Paile Eta Shuk Esuke Gopira Prapula Anga Muk. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. The gopis think Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies. Gopi Shobha Teki Krishnara Shobha Bhade Jata. Krishna Shobha Teki Gopira Shobha Bhade Tata. The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis. And the more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. Ematra praspara pare huda hudi paraspara bhade keha mukha nahi mudhi. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. In this way, a competition takes place between them in which no one acknowledges defeat. Kintu Krishnera Sukha Hoya Gopi Rupa Gune Tara Shuke Sukha Vrite Hoya Gopi Gane. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis. And when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increases. Ataiva she Shuka Krishna Sukha Poshe Hetu Gopi Preme Nahi Kama Doshe. Therefore, we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna became enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings to be purely amorous. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of Godhead, with not a spot of sexual indulgence. Rama, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay. Question from Chitraleka Saki Devi Dasi. The object of lust is only the enjoyment of one's own senses. Lust is acting for one's own enjoyment. Can one chant japa with lust if one does so for one's own desire to feel good? Well, if one understands one's existential situation, which is that real happiness comes from pleasing Krishna, and that you're pleasing Krishna by chanting, there's nothing wrong in that. After all, the whole Bhagavad Gita is really about understanding what our situation is in this world. For instance, in the 3rd chapter of the Gita, Krishna says, Jagnartat kamano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. He says that unless you do yajna while you're working in this world, then you'll be bound. But if you perform yajna, then you'll become happy, he says. And this is the arrangement at the beginning of creation, so that everyone can be satisfied and live a natural life. And just because you know that by performing yajna, by living a life that's aligned with Krishna and his desires, doesn't mean that you're lustful. Lust is born of Rajogun. And there's a blindness to the oneness that we have with Krishna, and that is that we're part and parcel of him. When we're in Rajogun, we can't see that. But in the higher modes of nature, and when we become situated in the Brahmabhuta platform, we see that actually I'm part of Krishna. And just as by feeding the stomach, all the senses and limbs become satisfied, I know I become satisfied. So if there's a fundamental understanding that by chanting Hare Krishna, I become happy, this is a different kind of happiness than the happiness Krishna describes as arising from Rajagun. Of course, there are different levels of refinement in our service to Krishna, and we may be chanting Hare Krishna for the motivation of freeing ourselves from anxiety. First of all, it's intelligent to know that that's the way to do it. There is no other way to get free from the oppression of the material senses and mind, but to chant Hare Krishna. But there may be higher motivations which awaken as we get the association of advanced Vaishnavas and also increase our own chanting. But it is not chanting because you're doing it for your own desire to feel good. I mean, the end result is you feel good because you're more connected to Krishna. So there's nothing wrong with that. And even if you did do it just to feel good, in the Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami says, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whatever motivation you have now, tivrena bhakti yogena, engage that in intense devotional service to the Lord. After all, In the 7th canto, also in the 10th canto, we hear that even the demons, in their ill motivation towards Krishna, attain perfection. Only person who didn't is Vaina, because Vaina denied the existence of the Lord. He ignored him completely, whereas Shishupal, he blasphemed him and he considered him to be an enemy, but he was always thinking of him. So did Kamsa. So they attained liberation by dint of that. What to speak of somebody chanting Hare Krishna, because like, this is the only way I can feel good. I have to chant Hare Krishna. That's okay. Sri Madhava Mahotsava Prabhu says, when Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in renunciation, one should not be neglectful of ordinary duties to body and mind, but that should be performed in a spirit of Krishna consciousness. Well, you are in a spirit of Krishna consciousness, Sri Madhava Mahotsava. Look at your life. If I walk in your house, I see that there's an altar, and then there's a book bag and a majanga drum, and that's about all there is, and some boga to be cooked. Devotees live very simply, and their lives are centered around Krishna. And the point here, which is also made by Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in their commentaries to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, is that if you're performing devotional service, and in the course of doing that, you protect your body, or you protect the bodies of your family members from danger, or you just take care of yourself, that's not outside the realm of pure devotional service. After all, you need your body in order to perform devotional service. I'll give you. As an example, Vasudeva, when he's coming home with his newly wedded wife, Devaki was confronted with a rather awkward situation, wouldn't you say? In this situation, he had to try to save the life of Devaki. And he took extraordinary measures to do so. This is from 10:148. As long as he has intelligence and bodily strength, an intelligent person must try to avoid death. That is the duty of every embodied person. But if death cannot be avoided in spite of one's endeavors, a person facing death commits no offense. Purport. It is natural for a person facing ultimate death to try his best to save himself. This is one's duty. Although death is sure, everyone should try to avoid it and not meet death without opposition, because every living soul is by nature eternal. Because death is a punishment imposed in the condemned life of material existence, the Vedic culture is based on avoiding death. Tyakva deham punarjanma naiti. Everyone should try to avoid death and rebirth by cultivating spiritual life, and should not submit to death without struggling to survive. One who is not trying to stop death is not an intelligent human being. Because Devaki was face to face with imminent death, it was Vasudeva's duty to save her. As he was trying his best to do, he therefore considered another way to approach Kamsa so that Devaki would be saved. So in this point, we see that Vasudeva trying to save Devaki is like, oh, that's material. You're just trying to save her body. Well, she's a devotee, and you have to save the body so you can do devotional service. So it's the opinion of the acharyas that in taking care of yourself, not inordinately, devotees live simply. Yukta hara viharasya, yukta chesasya karmasu, yukta swapna babodasya yogo bhavati dukkha. Then in the course of doing that, taking care of oneself, that's not outside the realm, because you have to have a modicum of maintenance. What to speak of if there's an emergency and you jump up to save your child, your body? All these things are not outside the realms of devotional service. But yes, they should perform the spirit of Krishna consciousness. The idea is your whole life is in the spirit of Krishna consciousness. So, when you're doing these things, you sit down to take prasadam. You just don't eat regular oatmeal. I don't know if you eat oatmeal at all, but if you do eat oatmeal, I'm sure you offer it first. And then when you sit down, you honor it and you pray to the Lord, thank you for this oatmeal. It's transcendental. I'm taking it. I mean, every act of the devotee in daily life is centered around Krishna. You may not even realize how centered on Krishna it is. But if somebody else comes into your home and sees how you live, they'll notice it. And if you go to somebody else's home that's not Krishna conscious, you'll notice how it's disjointed from Krishna. Okay. Question from Anonymous. By the description of gopis, it sounds that they are pure devotees. How we can imbibe the mood and devotion of devotees in our lives without imitating them. Prabhupada said that, imitation is something that it becomes artificial. For instance, if we try to imitate, he says, Dhruva Maharaj in performing austerities, then we'll probably die. He just ate leaves. There's plenty available now if anybody wants some, because it's autumn. Actually, it's winter. Today's Odana Shashti. But we should follow in the footsteps, Prabhupada says. So when we see the activities of the great devotees, of the gopis, Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, we should imbibe their spirit, and according to our capacity, we should follow in their footsteps. One way that Prabhupada talks about following the footsteps of the gopis, I'm going to read to you, if you'll hold 1 second. Because when Rameshwara Prabhu was talking about Sankirtan back in the 70s, he mentioned how he had heard from Prabhupada about how Sankirtan book distribution is in the mood of the gopis. And he spoke on that several times. There were, back then, the ways in which these lectures went around were not on SoundCloud, but on cassette tapes. The tapes, if any of you ever seen one, they're like little rectangle plastic containers, and you have to put it in a machine, tape recorder. Are all these things shocking? And they had to be sent through the mail, and then you put it in a tape recorder and listen to it. So, his lectures were going around, and somebody thought maybe he was being too esoteric or inventing something in the way he was speaking. So I'm reading from the book, Our Family Business. I researched this particular episode and Prabhupada's response to it. So I'm going to read it to you now, unless there's any objection. You can register it online here on the grid. This Prabhupada writes, in chapter 12, Confidential Service, Mood of the Gopis. Now let's hear how Srila Prabhupada practically applies this esoteric principle to those engaged in distributing his transcendental books. In 1974, at ISKCON Los Angeles, New Dwarka, Rameshwara Das, the appointed Sankirtan leader, had gleaned from Srila Prabhupada's teachings that those who distribute Srila Prabhupada's books are directly participating in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and in doing so, following in the footsteps of Krishna's most intimate servants in the spiritual world. Here, Rameshwara gives an inkling of the mood in 1974. Quote, I began to see that the Sankirtan devotees were in direct contact with the storehouse of love of Godhead that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had broken open 500 years before, and that Srila Prabhupada had brought that same storehouse to the earth again. The Sankirtan devotees were connected to Srila Prabhupada and also, therefore, to the divine pleasure energy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through this service. It was flowing through his divine grace, filling the world with ecstasy and transcendental knowledge. Unquote. In his lectures at the New Dwarka temple, Rameshwara repeatedly referred to the service of book distribution as a tasteful arrangement for souls to be joined in loving service to Krishna, a service that follows the mood of the gopis of Vrindavan. Rameshwara recalls that his classes about Sankirtan were going out to all the temples to enliven the book distributors, but that some devotees doubted his conclusions. Indeed, a number of devotees wondered if Rameshwara's conclusions were accurate. To clarify the matter, Nandulal Devi Dasi wrote to Srila Prabhupada on May 23rd, 1974. I have heard Rameshwara Prabhu in Los Angeles say that when we are performing Sankirtan, we are engaged in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is the union of Radha and Krishna, and he explained that just as Radharani is even more anxious to arrange for the other gopis to meet with Krishna than she is for herself to meet Krishna, and that the other gopis are also always trying to think of ways in which to arrange meetings between Radha and Krishna. So when the devotees are going out and trying to engage the suffering conditioned souls, actually what we are doing is trying to arrange for some of her lost souls to meet with Krishna once again. And that this is the Leela of Lord Chaitanya. Is this the proper understanding of Sankirtan? Unquote. Srila Prabhupada replied on June 9th, 1974. The explanation given by Rameshwara that Sankirtan is Lord Chaitanya's Leela, which he compares to the gopis trying to engage in Krishna's service, is the correct understanding. Unquote. We rest our case. That this esoteric service is available even to newcomers is thus a great opportunity. Anyone who takes up the service of distributing Srila Prabhupada's transcendental books in a humble mood is at once linked to such confidential devotional service. Quote, the Sankirtan devotees are very, very dear to Krishna because you are doing the field work of book distribution. Krishna has immediately recognized them as true servants, unquote. That was from Prabhupada's letter. So that's one way that you can follow in the footsteps. Do what Prabhupada did and go out to save the conditioned souls. Harinam book distribution. Does that sound like a good idea? I think it's a good idea. Okay. Madhava Prema. In verse 189, it is said that if one attains the favor of the gopis, then one easily attains favor of Krishna. How does one attain favor of the gopis? Gopi Bhartu Padakamali, or Das, 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 Anudas. This is a famous verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited when he was dancing in front of the Ratha Yatra cart. And in it, it says, I'm the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of the gopis. So there's a way in which all the devotees are dear to Krishna. And when you find some devotee or devotees who are connected because they're serving a devotee, who's serving a devotee, who's serving a devotee, you have this ideal situation where you can serve locally. You find a place, a devotee of significance, who's become significant by following the order of his master. And then you can follow such a person and take an order from that person. And by following that and being the servant of the servant of the servant, Das, 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 Anudas, aha, then you become a follower of the gopis. This is something that Prabhupada mentions in the Gita. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, we find that there's this conversation going on between Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra. And in this section, Prabhupada mentions the principle that by serving a devotee who's a servant of the servant of the servant, very mysteriously, you're directly, although it seems to be indirect, it becomes direct. Maybe somebody can find it. I thought I had it marked. But that's the process. And Shruti Priya Devi Dasi says, the transcendental love of the gopis cannot be understood by my material mind, which is affected by Maya. The vivid description of the selfless love of the gopis, free of lust, transported me to Gokula, observing how the beauty of the gopis and Krishna kept multiplying due to their pure love for each other. It's amazing how Krishna reciprocates to pure love of his devotees. Nice. Yes, this is the point. Krishna reciprocates. Krishna does not have the fault of being impersonal or ignoring anybody. And you'll find in the 9th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, verse number 29, Prabhupada writes in his purport, he says, but for his devotees, he gives specific attention. Such devotees are mentioned here. They are always in Krishna consciousness, and therefore they are always transcendently situated in Krishna. The very phrase Krishna consciousness suggests that those who are in such consciousness are living transcendentalists situated in him. The Lord says here distinctly, Maite, they are in me. Naturally, as a result, the Lord is also in them. This is reciprocal. This also explains the words, Ye yata mam prapadyante tam stataiva bhajamyaham. Whoever surrenders unto me proportionately, I take care of him. This transcendental reciprocation exists because both the Lord and the devotee are conscious. When a diamond is set in a golden ring, it looks very nice. The gold is glorified, and at the same time, the diamond is glorified. The Lord and the living entity eternally glitter. And when a living entity becomes inclined to the service of the Supreme Lord, he looks like gold. The Lord is a diamond, and so this combination is very nice. Living entities in a pure state are called devotees. That's a nice one. The Supreme Lord becomes the devotee of his devotees. If a reciprocal relationship is not present between the devotee and the Lord, then there is no personalist philosophy. In the impersonal philosophy, there is no reciprocation between the Supreme and the living entity. But in the personalist philosophy, there is. The example is often given that the Lord is like a desire tree, and whatever one wants from this desire tree, the Lord supplies. But here the explanation is more complete. The Lord is here stated to be partial to the devotees. This is the manifestation of the Lord's special mercy to the devotees. The Lord's reciprocation should not be considered to be under the law of karma. It belongs to the transcendental situation in which the Lord and his devotees function. Devotional service to the Lord is not an activity of this material world. It is part of the spiritual world where eternity, bliss, and knowledge predominate. So devotees feel the reciprocation of Krishna. He mentions in the Gita, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purogam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mapu upayandite. I give intelligence, direction, how to come to me in the heart. And devotees feel that Krishna is directing. In fact, any devotee you meet anywhere, if you say, so how'd you come to Krishna consciousness? They'll immediately start glowing, and then they'll tell you their story. And they'll say, so this happened. I was praying, and I just didn't know what to do. I wanted to know, but I didn't know what to do. And then Krishna came, and this happened, that happened. I met somebody. And obviously, they're recalling the reciprocation they felt from Krishna. That's from the internal energy. And that only increases as one goes on in the practice of devotional service. Prabhupada was obviously absorbed in this ocean of reciprocation with Krishna as he gave himself so fully in the mood of everything for Krishna, nothing for me. He was swimming in an ocean of reciprocation from Krishna. All facility, Krishna gave all facility to Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And he, as Prabhupada mentioned, he took away everything out of kindness, and then he gave back more than he could even imagine. He said, I had a few children, but now I have dozens and dozens of children. And all this is what constitutes actually the dynamic life of the devotee. The devotee surrenders and Krishna reciprocates. And without that, there's no taste in life. A living entity in free consciousness is free to surrender to Krishna and not inhibited by the conditional life, by the conditioned mind saying, no, you can't surrender, you have to do this and that. That's the imprisoned life of the living entity. The free life is, the more free we feel to surrender to Krishna and give ourselves to his service, try to increase, for instance, the Sankirtan movement, then the more Krishna reciprocates. Just as we see that as a Sankirtan team, right? The more we take entrepreneurial risks in order to spread Lord Chaitanya's movement, the more we see Lord Chaitanya's hand in reciprocation. It happens every time. And every time then we see, oh, Lord Chaitanya is there. And then we make another goal. And then we think, like, how is this even possible? And so that competition goes on eternally. Like the devotee surrenders and tries to do more service, and then Krishna reciprocates more. As we heard earlier, the gopis and Krishna are constantly trying to outdo one another in their reciprocation of love. So that's the life of devotional service. If God is impersonal, that doesn't exist. You're God, you merge, there's nothing. That's not very good. Nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam, Narada says, that doesn't look very nice. So let's see what else. Mayank, paraphrase, therefore lust and love are quite different. Lust is like dense darkness, but love is like the bright sun. The effect is completely different in lust. There's knowledge is covered, one becomes entangled, and then there's anger that results from not getting enough reciprocation in lust. Because after trying to enjoy material happiness, and then there's this frustration that comes. It's like, I don't feel better, I feel worse, and I feel inhibited because I can't get what I want. But when one has actual love, it's like the bright sun, because as Robert Grant, Hare Krishna, Rameshwara Prabhu, my God, I'm so happy to see you here on the board. He writes, we always prayed on book distribution. Please, Lord, send just one more soul for me to connect to you. So I was just talking about Rameshwara Prabhu, reading about him from the book, and now he's somehow appeared, unless somebody's playing a cruel joke on me, here on the board. We always prayed for book distribution, prayed on book distribution. Please, Lord, send just one more soul for me to connect to you. And after distributing the books, we would start this ardent, intense prayer over and over again. So let's try it. Dear Srila Prabhupada, everyone, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, please send at least just one more soul for me to connect to you. And let us make that prayer again and again. Hare Krishna. So now somehow we heard directly from Rameshwar Prabhu, whose conclusions were confirmed by Srila Prabhupada, that this Sankirtan is in the mood of the gopis. Thank you very much. Apara Gaurangi, what does heart mean in the verses like 1 to 17, Hridyantaksto Hyabadrani, actually refer to with respect to the gross and subtle bodies that we have? Well, for instance, in the Cheto Darpana Marjanam, the word Cheto actually refers to Chitta. Chitta means, in the conglomerate, it means the subtle body, the psychological body, or if you like, the subconscious mind. There's ego, which is ahankar, and there's mind, manas, and there's buddhi. All three of those are the subtle body. They comprise the chitta, which is a term that refers to the aggregate of the subtle body. So Cheto Darpana Marjanam, as an example, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that the chitta becomes purified. The mind is a reflecting surface. And when we engage with the objects of the senses in the material world, the mind takes in sensual imagery, and records it in the mind. And these become impressions, latent impressions that become re-stimulated in certain circumstances. And as an example, I was on my morning walk early yesterday, going through the park. Sun was just coming up, fresh smell of the earth, pine trees, because in the park we have redwood, different kinds of pine trees. And just suddenly I started remembering being camping with my parents when I was a kid, being up in the high Sierra, drinking water right out of a stream. And it was a very clear impression, a very pleasant one, the kind of sattva gun, but it was stimulated by a particular incident and environment. And so we have these impressions in our mind. Our minds become conditioned by these samskars, impressions. And therefore, we're not making independent choices. When we come into this world, we already have all the recordings from our previous lives. And therefore, when we are choosing one type of sense gratification over another, for instance, music, some people say, I like country music because I'm a country kind of person. And another person says, I like jazz. These are all mixtures of the modes of material nature. And I choose country over jazz because of the combination and permutations of the previous impressions I have in my mind, not because the pure soul likes jazz. It's not a free choice. And so when we come in contact with the transcendental sound vibration, the process of devotional service, then those samskars are replaced. They're actually overwritten by the powerful spiritual samskars from the Hare Krishna mantra, from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. And Krishna here mentions that he helps to remove the inhibiting samskars and replace them with the ways in which we remember Krishna. We remember him. So the question, what does heart mean in verses? Hridyantaksto Hyabadrani refers to the chitta, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. So there, Mahaprabhu uses the metaphor that your mind is a mirror, and when the mirror is covered by dust, or let's just say it's covered by dirt, or let's say it's the mirror has been put in a lockbox, there's different ways. You have to clean it with a cloth, or you have to get a squeegee and a sponge and a hose, or you have to get a stick of dynamite to blow it up, blow the box up to get the mirror out again. And that is the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is the dynamite you bring out. Naimishranya Prabhu asks, thus there is not the slightest taint of lust in the gopis' love. Their relationship with Krishna is only for the sake of his enjoyment. He comments, we have these moments where we are doing service only for Krishna's pleasure, but we keep bouncing back and forth between love and lust. As the Tatastha Shakti, how can we aim to always remain on the higher shore and not keep falling back to the lower shore? Well, Jata Shada Matkatasu Nirvina Sarvakarmasu. Veda Dukkha Makankamams Pratyage Panishvara. Tato Bhajeta Mamprita Shradhalur Dranishchaya Jushamanam Shtatankamams Duko Darkams Tagarayan. Now, Krishna says in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that in the interim practice of devotional service, we may know the goal is pure devotional service. We may be disgusted with engaging the senses with their objects in the material world. We know all this. Veda, Dukkha, Makankamams, we know it all leads to misery, but Parityagi Pyanishvara means I still don't have the power to not engage in sense gratification. And therefore, Krishna goes on to say, Tato bhajeta mam prita shradanishchala. Be aware of the fact that because you're engaged in the process of devotional service, you're very dear to me. And he said, you can have a little remorse, but don't become pathologically guilty so that you give up the process. He said, just keep going. And also in the 11th canto, it's mentioned Supadamulam Bhajata Priyasya Taktanya Bhavasa Hare Priyeshaha Vikarma Yachut Patitam Katanchid Dhunoti Sarvam Hridi Sanivishtaha. And that is, if you're engaged in pure devotional service, but somehow or other you engage in vikarma, then the direction is go on performing devotional service to the best of your ability, and you'll become purified by the process itself, because Krishna's entered your heart and he knows your intention and he helped to rectify you in due course of time. So to make it short and sweet, keep on keeping on. Oh, good. We have Rameshwara Prabhu back with another reflection. On book distribution, we always prayed with all our heart and might. Please, Lord, send me just one more soul to connect to you. And after distributing books to that soul, we would start to again pray as ardently and intensely as possible. Please send me just one more soul. Again and again and again, we prayed and distributed books in reciprocation. Everybody has to pray today, okay? To send one more soul. Please do it now. Everyone make an individual prayer. Please, Lord, send me just one more soul to connect to you. Thank you for considering my request. Hare Krishna. Tadiya Seva asks, we see gopis giving up their own personal enjoyment for the service of Lord Krishna. If one tries to give up one's own enjoyment in material life in the fear of suffering the bad consequences of it, but he is still not fully devoted to Lord Krishna, is that a safe situation for that devotee? Well, it's not exactly safe. It's a good idea to some degree, but we have to regulate the senses in order to get some traction in devotional service. And Krishna describes this conundrum in the Bhagavad Gita. Don't worry, you're not alone. He understands you. He says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasadehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drishva nivartate. So Krishna says, in the beginning, you may restrain your senses from the objects of sense gratification in the material world. But the taste for those objects will remain. However, once you get a higher taste, you'll automatically give up the taste that you had previously. The taste won't remain. It's not that you'll still be thinking, oh, I wish I had this or I wish I had that. Prabhupada once told some of his sannyasis, if you go to the home of a rich man, you shouldn't ever think like, oh, I wish I had, I could have had a house like this. But who knows? Maybe the thought crosses somebody's mind. But when there's a higher taste that one's experiencing, there's no sense that, oh, I like this, I like that. For instance, all of you are vegetarians. You don't have any taste for eating meat. And, if the opportunity, if you see somebody, somebody eating sausage or something, you just feel sorry for them. Like, what a murderous activity. What a disaster this is. And there's no sense in your tongue or in any of your senses that you think, oh, I wish I could have that. That never happens. So, you have a higher taste. You're eating prasadam. And so in all the senses, including attraction between male, female, when there's a higher taste for Krishna Katha, Vikriditam Rajavadurbit Ahamcha Vishnu Shadhan Vitona Shinu Yadata Varna Yedya. Bhaktim Param Bhagavati Pratilabhyakam Ridrogam Ashvapahinot Yacharinadhira. Shukadev Goswami says, even that will go, which is the main cause for staying in the material world. It's like, I once saw in an aquarium, the Monterey Aquarium, I saw a sea cow. They call it a sea cow. It doesn't mean a cow by the seashore. It means this gigantic animal that lives in the water. It looks like a huge seal, and way bigger than a seal. It's a very fat, has big, huge whiskers. I don't know. I don't want to be offensive to the sea cow community, but if I was going to say an animal looked ugly, I would say a sea cow looks ugly. No offense. It's only superficial. But I guarantee you, the male and female sea cow think that, there's some delight in being together, and that when the female sea cow bats her little eyelashes at the male sea cow, he feels all tingly in his tail. So Shukadev Goswami says, when you hear and actually become engaged in appreciating Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, especially his relationships with his devotees and amorous love, when that awakens in the heart, then all the other tastes in the material world, just like you've all given up meat, or you never had it in the first place because you gave it up in your last life, then there's no thought of it. It doesn't even enter your mind. So similarly, those who are tasting something higher are immune to the modes of material nature. It doesn't mean they become reckless. In fact, that's a point given throughout the Shastra, that one should always be careful, because while we're in a material body, anything can happen. So you can't never think I'm liberated, therefore I can take liberties, because then you might become victimized and whoops, what happened? So today we're continuing the marathon. If I'm looking at my calendar correctly, it's the 20th December. I don't know how we got here all the way from last year, but somehow or other it's the 20th. And we've got huge Sankirtan left in us for the marathon this year between today and January 7th. And so to complete our goal, we have a few more books to do. So I'm taking a personal initiative myself to make sure I'll give a number by today of how many I will help to do and finishing the last quota. But if everybody can take a little bit, something, last push, we need to go over the top. And Malini, can you tell us where we're at and where we need to get to before January 7th?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Please accept
Hare
my
Krishna.
humble obeisances. All Krishna Prabhupada.
Right.
Prabhu, so far, out of the 50,000 Bhagavad Gitas, we did close to 42,000 already, Prabhu. And we just have 8,000 Bhagavad Gitas still to go by January 7th. So that comes to about 335 cases of softbound Gita. If it's one case is 24. So we have 335 cases more to go.
And how many devotees? Can we just divide it up?
If we have a participation from 335, then we can do one case each. Or devotees can do 2 cases each. Then close to 150 devotees can each take 2 cases each, and then we can finish the goal.
Okay.
And Prabhu, yeah. I just wanted to say one thing, that Srivas Prabhu, he took a goal of doing 1 case of Bhagavad Gita. And every day or very often, whenever a person comes to deliver a package, he actually put he actually put a small stack of books next to the door. So he just distributes them from that stack, Prabhu, like this. And in that way, he actually distributed 1 case of Bhagavad Gita so far, since for the last 1 month. So I think if everybody just takes, each family or each person takes at least 1 or 2 cases of Bhagavad Gita, then we can finish it by January 7th, Prabhu.
Okay. I'll do 20 cases today. The gloves are off. And if everybody could, pick something that's not less than 1 and a little more than 0, then we'll get some traction. Some of you are already in all the way right now, and some of you have already given a lot of energy all the way up to this point, but last push is the biggest one and the most important. So just consider what you can do, and also you can get maybe some other ideas about distribution. Personally, I'm finding that there are lots of people. They're starting to contact me from different places and say that I want in on this 2 million goal, and spontaneously calling. And I think there's a bunch more that I can get in contact with today that I can engage, because I'm finding a lot of God brothers and God sisters are sitting out there and they maybe are not fully engaged. They'd like to be. And so let's connect them up. We have Gitas, or we have other books, right? So, and if anybody's listening and wants some, we'll ship them to you immediately. And then you can figure out a way to do your level best locally to distribute them. And also, if you want to give a donation, that's fine. If you don't, then I think we can make up for it. If you're in a poverty situation, can we make up for it, Malini?
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
We'll subsidize you even if you need it. So no problem. Yes, Malini?
Prabhu, after you asked every one of us to make a prayer, Sri Gopal Prabhu just texted me that somebody called in a few minutes ago, and that is Mr. Pete, and he wants to sponsor 1 case of Bhagavad Gita.
Haribo! Where is he?
The area code is 401. So we have to call him up and find out.
All right. Maybe he can distribute some too. It'd be nice to give him, whoever's sponsoring the opportunity, to take some books, and we can give them instruction how to distribute them.
Prabhu Sukeshwari posted a message saying that Bhagavad Seva team will do 50 cases.
Haribo! Bhagavad Seva ki jai.
Malini, and Vaisesika Prabhu. Radhavala Prabhu and myself will go do the 5 cases in our neighborhood.
Jai, Haribol.
Prabhu, now that Hansapriya is there, I just want to mention that they are making 10,000 cookies. And we are going to do what we did similar to the Thanksgiving holiday, where we are going to give all the packaging material where devotees can go and just put it on their doors of their neighbors without any contact, but just very safely go and put it on the doors. We have a thank you card. We have packed cookies with ingredients and everything. So we are hoping that we can distribute 5,000 of Bhagavad Gitas in this effort. Prabhu.
Fantastic.
Prabhu, I will do at least 5 cases of Gita today, Prabhu. I'll try to send it to my family members to distribute.
Haribo. Ananta Govinda says, not sure where to submit results.
Prabhu, can you text me? Or if you have your contact information, we can put it there and I will contact you, Prabhu.
And look, there's some more coming in, Malini, that you can read there. I didn't mean to start an avalanche here, but I guess it's okay.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I'd like to do 1 case of Bhagavad Gita.
Haribol, Hare Krishna. That's so nice. Malini, well, I was thinking, for some of the devotees who are going to be giving these as gifts, like if we send a case, do we have any of the packaging that we could send also? Like,
yes,
the bags we put it in and some of the ribbon so they can make it as gifts?
Yes, Prabhu. We can send all of those as well, Prabhu.
Okay.
So we are getting some more. Ananta Govinda Prabhu, I will actually contact you, and then we will find a way to report your score.
Let's hear what Vipti Shri was thinking. Like, how are you going to distribute your books? Do you have friends, relatives, neighbors, things like that?
Yeah, I have some neighbors, Prabhu. I will a few of the copies I'll distribute to my friends and neighbors. To the others, I'll give them and I'll ask them to distribute to their friends.
That's good. Delegation. So every home becomes an extended satellite book distribution center, right? I like that. That's very good.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Shrisha is showing the packaged Bhagavad Gita with a nice bow on it. Jai. Okay, what other announcements?
Prabhu, Sukeshwari wanted to make an announcement.
That's
that
good.
Launch of the Bhagavad Seva website. Sukeshwari.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. We just wanted to launch the Bhagavad Seva website, Prabhu. And there has been a huge team that worked behind it. Shamarupa Prabhu, if he can have an access to share. So we have had Shamarupa Prabhu and Praveena Mataji, if she's on the call. She's really, really helped us do the entire website. I also want to thank Mahaprabhu Prabhu, Priya Kishori, Ananga Gopika Mataji, and Arjun for helping out with the entire website. So the flyers and the videos that you will see. It'll just take about a couple minutes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. This is inspiration by Srila Prabhupada and Vaisesika Maharaj. We are launching this website today called bhagavatseva.com, and there is a small video here. I'll just like to play.
Srila Vyasadeva could envision that Kali Yuga would be a bucket full of problems. Are you experiencing it? Would you like to get free from the problems and distress of Kali Yuga? We have the answer, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, Bhagavat Seva, which originated here in California, is spreading all over the world. Bhagavat Seva is a program to join together with experts to help you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, understand it, and rise to a transcendental platform. It's for kids, it's for adolescents, it's for adults, it's for the whole family. take up Bhagavad Seva, not only will you benefit, but you can learn how to pass the Srimad Bhagavatam on to others, your friends, families, co-workers. This is one of the best programs I've ever seen in my life. Try it now, Bhagavad Seva.
Thank you very much. Why Bhagavad Seva? So basically, we have the opportunity to read and also distribute Srimad Bhagavatams. I think last semester we distributed around 250 Bhagavatam sets. And is it only for kids? No, it is both for kids and adults. And here at the registration, different classes that we are launching, and there are different very interesting classes. We have online Sunday school, we have life skills, arts and craft, cooking classes, and yeah, so we have for different age groups. Achyuta age group is 3 to 5 years, Ananta, Madhava, different age groups. We are teaching Ramayan, Lord Jagannath stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. And the different registration forms are available here. And if somebody may ask question, is it, can I take classes in my own language? Yes, currently in English, but we do have plan to start classes in regional languages like Russian, Spanish, Hindi, Telugu, if there is enough interest. You can feel free to contact us here if you have interest. And what do I need to do classes? If somebody has that question, all you need is the internet. You can be situated anywhere in this world. It's a global program. From anywhere you can take classes. How do I register? You can go to the registration forms here. Like this is the one sample registration form. So it's for both kids and adults. Anybody can take the classes. How do I register? From this website you can register. And how do I pay? We accept PayPal because it accepts global payment from any currency. You can give the PayPal transaction ID here. And if you take, there are payment options like monthly or full payment. For full payment, we are giving Bhakti Learning subscription for 6 months. And it is for 6 months long course. And we have like other classes like life skill classes, arts and crafts, cooking classes, sloka classes. So these are very interesting set of courses that we are launching. And the biggest benefit is, as Vaisesika Maharaj was telling just some time back, that we learned the Srimad Bhagavatam, and by registering this course, we learned from Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and also we help distribute. So every registration fee that you see here, that goes for Srimad Bhagavatam distribution. So you also automatically, just by registering, you also become a part of distributing Srimad Bhagavatam automatically. Thank you very much. We are really grateful to Vaisesika Maharaj and all the devotees. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shamarupa Prabhu and Sukheshwari.
And I forgot to tell Pravina Mataji did a great job building the whole website. She is very silent and behind the scene, but she actually worked very hard to make the whole website. Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you.
Bravo.
Prabhu, also, we would like to announce about our Gita Jayanti festival. That is the World Gita Day on 25th of December. So actually, Shamuni Mataji and the marketing team actually asked me to share this so that we all are aware that there are 9 events around the world, as you can see here in the slide. And it's in US, Brazil, then we have South Africa, India, Russia, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and UK. And more importantly, all those who have contributed significantly for this marathon, there will be a yajna at Kurukshetra, and it will be presided by His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And we will offer all the names of the devotees who have participated in this yajna during that offering. And And then we also have this Empowered by Gita. This is a contest. And you can check this out at World Gita Day. And please spread the word around about this. And we will send this information in the email as well. Kameshwari also wanted to announce that starting, because kids actually are starting holidays, there will be a daily calling party for kids during these holidays for the last 2 weeks of December. And all the kids are encouraged to participate in this. And there will be an announcement sent on the kids' WhatsApp group as well as our Sankirtan WhatsApp group. I think we covered everything, Prabhu.
Is Kameshwari going to say something? Oh, I thought you just said that. Okay. And now we have our Bhakti community CEO to talk about the opportunities we have for connecting people to the practice of devotional service just after you meet them.
Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances, all Guru Shri Prabhupada. Thanks for the opportunity. I wanted to give a quick recap of Bhakti community for those who are hearing it for the first time, as well as provide some updates on some of the progress we have made in the last week. So I'll share my screen. So Bhakti community, as most of you know, is an online platform for newcomers. So whenever you come in contact with newcomers giving books, please do extend Bhakti community to them. Bhakti community has series of programs throughout the week. From Monday, we have Bhakti on, Sadhana on Thursday, Spiritual Fitness on Friday. We'll be starting Bhakti Circle soon on Saturday. And we have Women's Circle on Sunday and Mantra Music as well as courses. So whenever you come in contact with a newcomer, please visit bhakticommunity.com/invite-newcomers. So we'll see an template, an email, which you can copy paste and give it to them, introducing Bhakti community. It does have a very nice small video as well, which provides an overview. If you're sharing through WhatsApp, you can copy paste the message through WhatsApp as well. There is a short snippet for WhatsApp available as well. So this way you can introduce Bhakti community to any newcomer that you come in contact with. And we also have prints. So if you want to give bookmarks along with books or stickers, maybe you want to stick it on the book so that wherever book goes, Bhakti community is always there with them. You can get the stickers and bookmarks as well. Vrinda Mataji has kindly agreed to help out with distributing them. So if you need any bookmarks or stickers, please do reach out to Tarun Prabhu, Venudari Mataji, Virundari Prabhu or Vrinda Mataji. They'll be able to help out with them. I also wanted to provide a good news that last week we had very good signups on partner side. As you know, currently we are actively working on onboarding Sydney, Alachu, and San Diego to Bhakti community platform. In addition, last week we had 8 more temples who are giving us the opportunity to serve them. So including Chicago, Toronto, Calgary, Brampton, Ottawa, Thunder Bay, Winnipeg, and Sarnagati. They all are very excited and eager to come on board Bhakti community platform so that they can multiply their local outreach, extending using the Bhakti community platform. So I'm really very thankful and grateful to all the partner servants who worked relentlessly putting together material and patiently answered all the questions and clarified the process to all the partners. So we have Rasa Mataji and Kamalshi Mataji, who is going to take care of mid and east coast temples, so including ISKCON Chicago, Toronto, Brampton, Ottawa, Thunder Bay, and Winnipeg. We have Siddhakata Prabhu and Janu Mataji who are going to take care of West Coast temples, including ISKCON Calgary, Sarnagati, and San Diego. And Vrinda Mataji will be supporting them in facilitating print materials, etc. So I also wanted to quickly flash the latest video we have added on the Bhakti community. So law of receptivity, its part 2 has been published. So please do like and share law of receptivity, and so that it can reach more and more people across the globe, so that more and more people can come in contact with Bhakti community. Yeah, there are many service opportunities available, including partner services. As you can see, we have more and more partners coming, and we really need partner servants who can facilitate onboarding and ongoing community building for them, video editing, social media marketing, management, website maintenance. So there are several opportunities. If you're inspired, please do mail hi@bhakticommunity.com. We're more than happy to share the opportunity with you. So that was a quick recap of Bhakti community, and thanks to everyone for your continued support, which is helping us to share this with more and more people across North America and globally. Thank you so much.
Prabhu, Kameshwari actually wanted to make an announcement too. Is it okay if she?
It's always okay for Kameshwari to make announcements.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam. So, Prabhuji, kids were, our Sankirtan worked really well when kids were holidays during summer, when pandemic started, and in the summer it worked really nicely. But we were thinking it was a little bit challenging to engage them when school started, and but still they were doing as much as they could. But now the Sunday school has it's over, and we have remaining 3 Sundays, and the last week of the December is holidays. So Sundays and the last week every day we are planning for a calling party, especially for kids, and we will have the devotees who have experience of calling and they have some success. A lot of devotees have huge success. They will be there to guide the children. So we are requesting all the parents, please be there by the side of children, and we need all of your participation for this last push that we are trying to do, so we can have something to offer to Srila Prabhupada. Yesterday I had a dream that we are making an offering. Prabhupada, there are a lot of discussions going on. Vaisesika Prabhu is there, Malini, everybody. And then I saw that kids said, the announcement is that only 196 Bhagavad Gita are done by the kids. And I woke up in anxiety. Of course, there's so much anxiety because we are not able to do much, but we will try. So we are requesting your blessings and requesting blessings from parents and all the devotees also for the participation. Thank you.
Hari Hari Bo. This is very important to dream about Krishna and Prabhupada and devotional service. In fact, today is Odana Shasti. It's the day we move into the winter, and in Jagannath Puri, at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on Odana Shasti, there was a festival going on that had been going on for hundreds of years and is still going on. And that festival, the pujaris offer Lord Jagannath some new cloth for the winter. It's a little thicker, very beautiful ornamented cloth. However, traditionally, although it's contrary to the Archana Paddhati, they offer starched cloth, means unwashed. It came right out of the mill, and it's still got the starch. So at the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Swarup Damodar and Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who are very, very close, they used to discuss topics of Krishna every day, meet one another, and they would be seen sometimes walking through the street hand in hand. Such deep friendship they had, and the most intimate servants of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So on Odana Shasti day, they had been to see Lord Jagannath. And when Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who is such a highly respected devotee, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to call him father, Bapa. And he felt a little angry when he saw that the pujaris were offering Lord Jagannath cloth that is starched. And in his mind, he was thinking, what are they doing? This is not correct. It's not in the Shastra to do this. Even though he knew it was like the regular activity of the pujaris there, still it annoyed him. So after the darshan, he was, as usual, speaking with Swarup Damodar and revealing his mind and saying that he was disturbed by this offering. And Swarup Damodar was saying, no, this is a tradition here. It's been going on for so long. Pujaris do this. They're very dear to Lord Jagannath, and they offer like this local custom. And that night, still feeling a little indignant about the whole affair, Pundarik Vidyanidhi went to sleep. And Jagannath and Baladev appeared in his dream. And they said, how dare you to second guess our servants, these pujaris who are serving us in this way. They were smiling, so it was somewhat good-hearted, but they chastised him for speaking against the local pujaris, and they Jagannath and Baladev began slapping the cheeks of Pundarik Vidyanidhi in his dream, and he was falling at their feet, begging for forgiveness. And he woke up from the dream, feeling actually quite happy that the Lord cared about him so much that he came to personally chastise him. And then he noticed that his cheeks were swollen. And he was afraid to go out because someone might see his cheeks swollen. When Swarup Damodar came back from morning darshan, wondering where his friend Pundarik Vidyanidhi was, he came to his home and he said, where have you been? And since he was an intimate friend, he told Pundarik Vidyanidhi did the story to Swarup Damodar that the Lord came and chastised me in my dream, and you can see the effects of it now that these slap marks are there. So this is a story in which Vrindavan Das Thakur gives some comment. He tells the story, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments about how devotees, when they're performing intense devotional service, sometimes the Lord very helpfully visits them in a dream to give them some direction, and can very much inspire a devotee, and obviously even chastise us in a dream to give us direction in a certain way. So on this special day of Odana Shasti, we've gone through many seasons now under this lockdown, and rather than inhibit us, it's actually caused us to grow even more. So we pray on this day of the changing seasons for the mercy of Lord Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra, Shri Gaurnitai, Sriman Mahaprabhu, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, and Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, to please give us the strength to remain strictly in the process of devotional service and to vigorously expand the Sankirtan movement in ways that will bring pleasure to all the previous acharyas so that they can shower their mercy upon us. Everyone agrees with these ideas in part or in whole? Please say Hare Krishna.
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 Maharaj,
there is one more.
After you, Malini Mataji.
Prabhu, we just want to share some very good news, Prabhu. That yesterday night, Manjari Gopika and Achyuta Chaitanya Prabhu, they had a baby girl. The Vaishnavi has arrived yesterday night. So seeking blessings for the baby on their behalf, Prabhu, from all the Vaishnavas. Mataji, you can go ahead.
No, we can't hear Maharaj. He's saying something, I think. Maharaj, we are not able to hear you. Cannot hear.
Maharaj is still muted.
I was not able to hear Maharaj.
But she's able to hear you.
What?
We can hear you.
We were not able to hear what you said about Manjari Gopika's good news.
Can somebody fix the jamulus?
Maharaj, it's fixed. They should be able to, they can hear us right now.
Can you all hear now?
Yes.
Sorry, I was on jamulus. One second. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm praying that their daughter may have unshakable devotion for Lord Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada, friendship with Krishna's devotees, and transcendental compassion for all living beings. May she also have strength, long life, fame, beauty, and ever-increasing prosperity. Om Tat Sat.
Prabhu, I just
Hare
wanted to
Krishna.
mention that this little Vaishnavi read the entire Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita while in the womb.
Good job. Did she use the app? The Be a Sage page by page?
Bharat, Mom did.
Mom did. Okay.
Bharat, I was just thinking that considering that we all know that ISV kids are so special, especially who are born here. I was just thinking that my prayers to Krishna to send one more person just got answered with this news.
Hey, that's pretty good. Namasheshtam manamapi shachiputra matra sarupam shirupam tasya grajam uruparim maturim goshtavatim radha kundam girivaramoho radhika madhavasham prapto yasya pratitikapaya shri gurum tam natosmi. Hey Guru Gyanadav Dinabandho Swananda Data Kurunaika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahitavatar Prasida Radha Pranaya Pracharo. Hey Dinabandho Kurunaika Sindho Kuru Prasada Maimanda Mudhe Laksha Parade Bahupapa Gadhe Tapada Padme Stumatishta Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. I bow to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Gati Sadma Bando Mui Savadana Mate Jahara Prasade Bai Bhavadoriya Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Arna Kori Ho Mane Asha Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttama Gati Charane Rati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Go Sadhu, go. Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asha. Chakudano Dilo Jai Janme Janme Prabhu She Dibya Gyan Hride Prokashito Prema Bhakti Jaha Hoite Avidya Vinasha Jate Vedika Jahara Chorito Vedika Jahara Chorito Vedika Jahara Chorito Vedika Jahara Chorito Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Atama Janara Bandhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Atama Janara Bandhu Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokana Lokera Jivana Lokana Lokera Jivana Ha ha Prabhu Kodoya Deho More Padachaya Prabhu Kodoya Deho More Padachaya Ha ha Prabhu Kodoya chaya Prabhu karo doya Deho more pada chaya Ebe jashu shukti bhuvana Ebe jashu shukti bhuvana Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Gaur Premanande Haribo Haribo Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Rishatarine Saraswate Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Panchatattva Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai O Dana Shasti Ki Jai Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Okay, get ready. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Go Premanande, Haribo, Haribo. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. I go Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol, Jai Gaur Hari Bol. Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Back home, back to God. Yeah. Premanande. Don't look now, but you're in the middle of the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He brought you here from different planets just to do this work. So feel free to go ahead and do it, because it's your only obligation in life. Do it and go back home, back to Godhead, or stay here and do a few more books next life. Up to you. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Gaur Premanande, Srila Prabhupada Marathon Ki. 9,000 books distributed in practically one day. Today, maybe even Ki. Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Just show us the nectar verses and we'll be happy. We won't bother anybody ever again. Marapidam, Marapidam, Baravidam, Natavaravapu Karnayo Karnikaram, Dibradvasa Kanata Kapisham Vayajayantim Shamala, Randram Venur Adhara Sudaya Punayan Gopa Vrindaya, Vindarandyam Swapadaramanam Parishad Kita Kirti, Tavakatam Ritam Tajivanam Kavibiritam Kalmashapaham. Everybody, Shravana Mangala Srimadatam Bhuvi Grinantiye Buddhidajana Krishnot Kirtana Gananartana Kala Pato Jani Brajitka Shadbhakta Balihamsa Chakramadupa Shreni Viharaspadam Karnanandikaladvanir Bahatu Me Jiva Marupram Gane Elom Dhunita Kedaya Vishadaya Pronila Ramodaya Shamyachastra Vivadaya Rasadaya Chitarpito Madaya Shashvat Bhakti Vinodaya Samadaya Madhurya Margyadaya Shri Chaitanya Dvaya Nidhetavadaya Bhuya Ramandodaya Shri Chaitanya Dvaya Nidhetavadaya Bhuya Ramandodaya Shavane Parikshita Bhava Vaisesika Kirtane Shalada Smarane Tadangri Bhajane Lakshmi Pritu Pujane Akrurasva Vibandane Kapipati Daseta Sakyarjuna Sarva Swatma Nivedane Varirabu Krishna Ptiresha Go Sadhu, go. Hit that last note. Ra Shariradvijaja Jyotindriya Kaheka Jive Pele Vishaya Shagare Tarmadye Jivayati Lobo Muy Sudurmati Take Jeta Katita Shamshare Krishna Borodoyamoy Tore Bare Jivajay Raprashad Nadi Lobai Shayanamrita Bhav Radha Krishna Gunagao Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Mahaprasade Govinde Nam Brahmani Vaishnave Sopa Punya Vatam Rajan Vishwaso Nagajayate Sade Sarva Tukana Manirasyo Pajayate Prasana Cheta Soyashu Parya Vatishte Tayo Paramuta Sarkanda Vasulankara Charchita Uchishta Bodhi Dasas Tavamayam Jaye Mahi Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasada Ki Gaura Premanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura. Please come take prasadam. Gaur Premanande Hari Haribo. 9,000 books. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Sundarananda Prabhu. They got him locked in. He can't come out. Good to see you. I won't say Vraja because she'll get shy and run away. Haribol Vraja. Good to see you. Hare Krishna. Good dancing. Yeah. Okay, thank you, everybody. And thanks for joining us from other continents. Everyone who tuned in from the UK, Argentina, from France, Argentina. Where else? Who am I missing?
India. Exactly.
Jai. And from Cupertino. And for all over the Bay Area. Vancha Kopdrishcha Kripasindabe Vachapatitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Nantakoti Vaishnaviniki Jai. Can everyone unmute and say Hare Krishna?
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Bol.
Hare Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol.